Welcome to Cross Border Interviews. Our goal is to create meaningful municipal conversations that inform, that connect, that educate, and that strengthen communities from coast to coast to coast here in Canada. For this edition of Cross Border Interviews, we are honored to welcome to the show from the town of Taber, Alberta, Councillor Carly Firth. Taber is often known as the, quote, corn capital of Canada, end quote, due to the famous golden crop grown in the region. But what makes Taber corn so special? To put it simply, it's because of the amount of sunshine the area receives. The previous motto was the land of the long sun, so that gives an indication of how much sun Taber region actually gets in the area. And they can't give the sun all the credit though. The corn also receives help from cool nights, which brings out the sugar production in the corn, irrigation water, good soil, and the talents of the region's best producers. Except no substitutes. Taber corn is so famous that growers in the area actually have certifications of authenticity to prove the cobs were grown in the Taber region. This is Cross Border Interviews. From the smallest village to the largest city, across every region of the province, Alberta municipalities represents the communities where over 85% of Albertans live. AB Munis provides a united voice for 265 of Alberta's 330 municipalities, including summer villages, towns, cities, and specialized municipalities. As Alberta's largest municipal group, AB Munis listens to municipal leaders and advocates for solutions to their common issues. Additionally, AB Munis supports local governments by providing services specially designed to meet their operational needs. And they bring their members together regularly so they can share ideas and information so that their communities can thrive. Check out Alberta municipalities at abmunis.ca and follow them on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, now called X. Councillor, thank you so much for sitting down with me and talking about yourself and talking about the amazing community of the town of Taber, Alberta. Before we talk about the town, I want to get to know the person behind the persona of counselor, if you don't mind. Gotta start with a very simple question. It's one that I ask all my guests. Where does your sense of duty to serve your community come from, Carly?
Well, Chris, my background is in media, and everybody that knows me has heard this joke before, so apologies to all of them. But people that were in radio usually go into either politics or used car sales, and so I chose politics. And some days I think, maybe used car sales would have been a better fit, but here I am, and really enjoying it. But more seriously, I was seeing a version of my community expressed in the provincial and federal media that just didn't jive with my version of what my community is, what the town of Tabor is. And so I thought, maybe I can do something to help change that. And so I decided to run for council, and I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Um, but I ran and I was successful, and I've really been enjoying it. So,
Not only were you successful, you got the second most votes in your very first campaign that you came out of, because I do my research on this, and you got the second most votes in 2017. You then got, I think it was second or third in 2021, and again, you were the first or second in 2025. You must have a pulse on the ground. Prior to entering municipal politics, was politics something that you ever thought about getting into? Because if not, you are the luckiest person I know.
it's not. And Chris, no one was more surprised than me. First time running, I was just hoping I was going to get in. And then the second most vote, I was thrilled with that. But uh, I have heard, and it is a true statement that it only matters on election day how many votes you've got. After that, it's either you're in or you're out, and you just put your head down and get to work. So, as flattering as it was, I mean, I was just happy to be elected.
Was mom and dad political, or are you the black sheep of the family and went into the political route yourself?
No, when I said I was going to run for the first time, my dad actually said to me, he's like, "Why would you want to do that?"
I love
Uh,
how dads can be very honest during times of truly big decisions in your life. So, 2017, you mentioned it jokingly that you either go into used car salesman or you become a politician. I was a radio person myself, and well, I went into the political side of media for myself and the administration side. What was it about the municipal draw? You said that you didn't like how it was being, the town it was being portrayed, but there must have been another reason because you could have done this advocacy work provincially or even federally. What was the municipal draw for you?
Well, it was advocating for my community, really. I've born and raised here, a third generation. I love the town of Taber, with the exception of a short stint in my teens when I was just like itching to get out of here, as I think most teenagers are after high school. They just can't wait to get out of their small town. But I ended up staying, and you know what? I love this community so much, and I'm proud to raise my kids here. So.
I want to talk about the role of council for a second, and I want to sort of get your opinion on this because I can imagine you've had to make some very big decisions around that council table in your two terms and now starting your third term in political office. How do you make those tough decisions? Because I can imagine that weighs on you on from when those tough decisions have to be made.
It does. The night before, when I've read my package and I don't always get a lot of sleep the night before. I'm like, and often even after we've made the decision, um, we make a decision as a whole, as council. I'm like, and agree or not, I'm like, you move forward and you stand behind that decision. I try and look at everything, big or small, through the lens of how can it benefit the most amount of people in my community. Um, And sometimes that's easy, and sometimes it's less easy.
Is it I know it's he says that sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not. We all have our own moral compass within ourselves. We all believe
Mhm.
what is right and wrong. But as an elected official, until the moment you actually walk into that council table, sit down and raise your hand at the end of the when the mayor calls for a vote, you have to be open-minded. Was that hard to learn in that position of counselor? Because I can imagine there's days that you say, "Well, I believe it's right, but what I'm hearing from the people of Tabor, maybe I should look at this a little bit differently."
Um, I try and be as open-minded as I can. So I don't, that hasn't ever been a challenge, although I have had some really surprising moments when I thought I knew what decision I was going to make. I had done the background, I'd done the research. I walk into the meeting and we start discussing it, and a fellow counselor brings up a point that never even occurred to me. And those moments are when you think and that's a really good point. I never thought about that. And sometimes it changes.
Looking at the role of counselor is you are there to get the opinions of the general public, but at the end of the day you have to make the final decision. When you do go out to the general public and say there's an issue in front of council right now, I want to hear what you're thinking about, are you getting the sense that people want to give you their honest unfiltered feedback, or are they more reserved? And I say this respectfully, not just to the town of Tabor, but across Canada right now, I'm seeing this. More people are being reactive to issues rather than proactive to issues. So in the town of Tabor, do you see people wanting to give you their feedback when you ask for it?
Uh, yes, very much so. Usually it's when they're opposed to something that's coming up. Um, and I love the honesty, the candidness. When people, I truly appreciate it. I'm like you don't need to sugarcoat it, but there's been more and more animosity, which I don't love. I see it online a lot. There's a lot of anger, a lot of polarization, and that I find frustrating, especially municipally, because I'm like, I want us to work together for the betterment of everybody. But it it feels a lot of times like an us versus them mentality. I'm like, which I don't like as much.
So I want to stick on that for a second, but I want to just change the narrative just a little bit. I was going to ask you this later on when we talk about the town, but it's the perfect time to talk about this. 100% of the people of Tabor will never agree on 100% of the issues that is in front of council.
Hmm.
And I have said this enough times on this show to realize that this is not a Tabor issue. This is a Canada issue.
Truly.
When you make those tough decisions, when you make those decisions that are in the best interest of the whole, how important is it for yourself to go out and sell those issues to the people of Tabor? When they stop you in the grocery store, when they stop you at the gas station, say, Counselor, I need to chat with you for 2 seconds, and I really believe you did the wrong vote here. Why did you vote this way? How important is it for you to have that honest, unfiltered communication, but also be honest with the people about why you voted the way you did?
It's so important. And I find a lot of sometimes people are a bit hot when they come to talk to you about something. They feel strongly about it. And I appreciate that passion. I mean, people that are engaged in their community, they're passionate about the issues. And I can respect that. And I love to be able to have a conversation and share my side of it. Like this is the reason that I made the decisions that I did. And the truth is we don't always get it right. There's been times when, you try and make the best decision that you can at the time with the information that you have, but we're not perfect. We're just people. And so I think it's really important, especially to maintain the public trust that when you get it wrong, that you own it. You can't go back. You can't change the past. You can only move forward. But yeah, I think it's really important to maintain that trust.
8.5 years around the council table, you've been there. And this is a weird question to ask, but I think it's one that because what you just said, did the tough decisions get easier to make, or are they still as tough today as they were the first year that you were elected?
They're just as tough because they change all
Yeah.
the time. Um, After my first 4 years, I thought, okay, like, I think I've really got a handle on this. I feel good, like I'm learning. And the longer I'm here, the more I learn that the more you know, the less you actually know, because the issues are changing, the community changes, and yeah, so you're never really like it's always exciting and it's always new.
The role of the municipal council is pretty straightforward if you read the MGA, which I'm one of those nerds that actually read the MGA because I love reading and I love municipal issues. That's why you do a show about municipal issues. But it's very cut and dry. It's very black and white about what the role of the municipality is. Now, you are in your community when you make those decisions. You make the decisions at the council table, you're in the grocery store the next day. You don't go to Edmonton to do your job, you don't go to Ottawa to do your job. So those jurisdictional lines that what the municipality, what the province, and what the federal government do can be blurred sometimes because you're the closest to the people. When people do approach you about issues, are they approaching you about the true municipal jurisdictional issues, or do you see that blurring of those jurisdictional lines because you might be the closest to them and you're easily accessible compared to their MLA or their MP?
Um, Usually people have a pretty good grasp on they're they're talking to me about the issues, municipal issues, because it's the ones that are affecting them. That's one of the great things about municipal politics is you're so close to your constituents or to the voters. Like you said, you see them in the grocery store. I'm like, and you're the most accessible because we're right there. We're in the community. I'm like, we're making decisions that affect people, but they affect us too. We live here. And I think occasionally it will tread into provincial or federal territory, but I still appreciate when people bring that because we can always act in that advocacy role too and talk to our MLA or our MP, say, this is what I'm hearing. Because they're not always in the community. So I think it's valuable to, maintain those relationships so that we can be that conduit for communication.
And on the flip side of that, when you do be that conduit towards your MP or your MLA, is it important for yourself, just yourself in particular? I'm not talking about council as a whole, but if a resident comes to you and say, I have an issue about healthcare. Now,
Mhm.
healthcare is a provincial. technically federal and provincial issue, but we won't go into that mess right now. If there's an issue about healthcare and a resident comes to you, how important is it for you to follow up with them to say, did you get the response that you were looking for from the MLA because I mentioned it to them? Or how important is it for you to just sort of, I don't want to say pass the buck, but make sure that you are giving the information to the person that is supposed to handle the issue?
Well, I try and act as the flow through because I'm not the expert on provincial issues. So if it's something that I can help with, I'm happy to pass it on. But a lot of times I will also say, hey, this is something you could talk to our MLA about, and our MLA he's really great about being accessible and getting back to people. So I'll usually kind of just yeah, like not
Nudge a little bit. Well, plus at the same time, congratulations on getting a new minister in your riding as your local
yes,
MLA. So you must be happy with that.
yes, that's exciting.
Before we turn to the town of Tabor, I want to just ask one personal question, if you don't mind. And this is
Sure.
one that I like to ask because it really gets me to know a little bit about the person I'm talking about. Now, your job as a municipal councillor is, I would say, more than a full-time job. I would say it's probably a job that you probably do more than your full-time job because you're always on. When you leave the house, you're counselor. When you go to the grocery store, you're counselor. When you're with your family, you're counselor. After 8.5 years, have you found that balance of just being Carly and being counselor, or do you find yourself always having to be counselor?
Um, I'm not very good at faking it. So what you see is what you get. And I hope that that's always true.
Are
I
people
always try.
respectful?
Pardon?
Are people respectful of your time? So if you were out with your family, hypothetically, and you say, "Can we talk about this tomorrow? Here's my card." Will they do that?
Yeah, for the most part. And I always try, like I never want people to feel like the conversation isn't valuable because I'm like, I value that feedback and
Yeah.
to be able to have those one-on-one conversations with people. So sometimes, yeah, it's tough, depending where I am or what I'm doing. It's like, hey, I'm like, shoot me an email, or I'm like, this is my cell number. I was like, text me. I'm like, and we'll get together for a coffee, or we'll hammer this out. But I'm like, we just can't do it right now. And yeah, people are almost always respectful of that.
Because I apologize if I'm saying something out of turn here, but did you say you do have kids?
Yes, I do. I have two boys.
Are they of age that they know what mom does for a living and that they use the fact that you're a counselor to their advantage yet, or are they not that age yet?
Yeah, they're 18 and 14, and mostly they're just like my mom goes to a lot of meetings. Like
So they're not saying, "Oh, my mom's the counselor, so I can do whatever I want around town" yet. No?
their friends understand it. My younger one has come home and said, "Hey, my friend said that we need to get a movie theater and a mall in Tabor. Do you think you could like make that happen?" I'm like,
Your
"Well,
son's amazing.
it's not really the role, but
That, hey, they're being engaged. That's all that matters. I
it's
wanted
economic
to,
development, so I suppose it's kind of in there."
I want to turn to the town of Tabor as a whole now, but before I do that, please bear with me, counselor, as I get through a little bit of a preamble because I want to make sure people are aware of what this conversation entitles. This is a conversation between the counselor and myself. This is not a motion of council. This is not a direction of council. This is not a policy of council. This is the counselor's opinion and her opinion alone. Now, it may line up with what's going on at council, but at the end of the day, the counselor needs a majority of votes around the council table to vote in favor or against any policy, bylaw to direct administration to administer the policy or bylaw that they have passed. So again, this is the counselor's opinion. Whew. With that being said, counselor, as of recording this in the middle of January 2026, what do you see as the biggest challenge or challenges facing the town of Tabor today?
This is not unique to the town of Tabor. I think pretty much every municipality in Canada is facing this, but it's infrastructure, aging infrastructure specifically. I mean, we look at Calgary and their water main problems, and
Oh,
we are
trust me, I know it quite well as the Calgary resident right now.
okay. Okay, it's a little close to home then for you, Chris. Sorry. Um,
Continue.
yeah, but it is. so much of our infrastructure is, 30 and 40 and 50 years old, and we are doing our best to maintain and upgrade as we can. But the reality is that sometimes things fail, and then you just deal with it as it goes. Also, I'm like, I don't know if you've been reading the news, but we had a small explosion at our arena. Yeah.
Just a
So
little one.
just a little one. Um, so our ice surfaces are down right now, and that it feeds into all of that as well because I'm like, that's an older building, and so then we're left with the decision, okay, so now what are we going to do? Or do we rebuild it? Do we like there's so many decisions moving forward.
Is the town of Tabor in a position right now where you're able to handle all these unknown challenges around infrastructure? Because you're right. You're not alone in this situation, but you are alone a little bit because you're an island upon yourself and the issues that go on in your community, you have to fix them. Now, recreation's a little bit different because I'm assuming you have an ICF, ICC, ICFF. There's too many acronyms that, for those who don't know, intergovernmental collaboration framework between the town and the MD, if I'm not mistaken. So when it comes to just the infrastructure, the pipes in the ground, are you in a good position right now? Because I hear some stories that people are one pipe burst away from being insolvent as a municipality, and some municipalities saying, we can handle it. We just hope it doesn't.
I think we are in a good place. I mean, I trust our administration 100%, and they have done a really good job of inventorying our infrastructure and kind of figuring out, okay, like this is what we think needs to be done next. And of course, things change. And we also try and, maintain like a manageable debt limit so that if God forbid those catastrophes happen, that we have the room if we needed to borrow, or we have reserves. You don't want to be, it's just like your household budget, right? You don't want to be maxing out your credit cards and spending every penny of your paycheck because if something happens, I'm like, you need to be able to plan for that, plan for the things that you can't plan for.
While infrastructure is probably one of the biggest things that municipalities will have to deal with in 2026, on the flip side, the needs of the entire community can sometimes outweigh the needs of the individual issue. If you and I were to go to 100 people in Tabor today, I can imagine you've done this numerous times as we just got through an election period and asked people what the biggest issue for them is for the town of Tabor, you're going to hear 100 different things. That pothole in front of that house, new park upgrades, so on and so forth. How do you see yourself, and I say this as a counselor, just an individual counselor, in balancing the needs of the community and ensuring that we have the infrastructure? When I go turn on my water in the morning, I want the water to show up, with the individual issues that might be the most important issue that person is dealing with. That pothole in front of my house on 3rd Street is the biggest issue for me because it is something I deal with on a daily basis. How do you see yourself as a counselor in balancing those two? I don't want to say opposing forces, but those two different entities that make up a great community like the town of Tabor.
It's one of the most challenging parts of the job for sure, because with infrastructure like pipes in the ground and water and wastewater, um, garbage, like administration has said, like, when people aren't noticing it, that's good. That means that we are doing our job correctly because the garbage is being picked up. You're turning on your tap, the water is running, your drains are clear, the wastewater is going where it needs to go. But we don't it's not something it's not a flashy thing. It's not something that people notice. It's just something that people expect, as they should. I'm like, that's our role to provide that. um and so it is difficult because and people have amazing ideas, but one of the things I love so much about this community is the initiative and the work ethic. Like, if the community wants something and it is not in the town of Tabor's plans, you often see, I'm like, and I have 4 or 5 examples of things that we didn't offer. And people wanted. And so they formed a group, and sometimes they come to the town for support, and sometimes they do the fundraising on their own, and they make it happen. And it's amazing. We have a spray park because of groups like that. We have an unbelievable mountain bike trail system. Well, mountain bike, coulee biking, I guess. We don't have mountains.
I was gonna say, what mountain is near Taber, counselor? Am I talking to the wrong Taber, Alberta right
It's a great trail system. To be fair,
now?
they are not mountains, but we do have some great coulees and some trails.
So just on that note alone, because I know that every municipality in Canada has their own unique issues. And now you talked about one very big one, but it's a very unique to yourself. On the flip side, we don't often talk about the good things that go right in our community, the things that we are proud of. And you've just mentioned a few of them, but I want to play in that sandbox just a little bit longer because I think the town of Taber is so unique because you do have a community pride that I have never seen before. I was through Tabor last summer for like a few days, and I can tell you the amount of times that people were just friendly to you on the side of the street and they didn't know who I was. It was reassuring that there's a place in this world that that still happens. Now, I know at the beginning of the interview you talked about these sort of online warriors, but let's be honest, when you're downtown, people are friendly to each other. What makes you proud to represent the great community of Tabor?
Well, that's a lot of it. It is that feeling of community. So last year we talked about perhaps transitioning to a city, and we heard pretty resounding feedback that people were not interested in that, that they like a town, they like the feeling of a town, of a small town. And even as we continue to grow, that's something that is important. And I agree. And I'm so glad you had a great experience in Tabor, that people were friendly.
So, going back to the original question, if you don't mind, is there a program, an event, something that happens in the community that you look at and you say, you know what, this is what Tabor is all about?
Um, well, Cornfest. Like, I don't know if you got to experience Cornfest, but it is
I have not, but it's on my schedule for 2026.
amazing. Well, drop me a line. It is iconic. It's it's wonderful. And I mean, it's 3 days of, celebrating corn, and it's community, and it's free. I'm like, that's one of the great things. I hear people come from all around. Um, they come from Lethbridge, which is a bigger city. I'm like, but they come to enjoy it because they like the feeling. It's more of a family oriented festival. I'm like, and it's wonderful. We also have Corn Stalk, which is new to our community. It's a music festival that so corn stalk, like STOCK, like Woodstock. I love the wordplay.
I'm just trying to think of any country music star that has corn in their name. Like all I can think of is Corn, the rock band, and that's probably not the demographic for corn stock.
It is not.
So where does that pride come from, do you think? Because I've traveled Canada quite extensively over the last few years, traveling to different municipalities. And when you get a community that has that pride, there must be something, and I hate to say in the water because you guys have probably the best filtration system to grow all the amazing corn, as we're going to be talking about in a few seconds. But what gives you that sense that this is why people love Tabor so much?
I don't know. I don't know that I can point to one thing, but it's a special place.
Do you see people flocking to the community, like wanting to buy into the community, like move in and set up shop right now?
We are growing, not at like an exponential rate, but we are continuing to grow, and it's great because I meet people all the time. My favorite thing to ask new people to the community is, so why Tabor? What drew you here? And you get a variety of reasons. Sometimes it's, oh, well, we had family in the area, or sometimes post COVID, I'm hearing a lot of, well, we wanted to get out of the city and we wanted something smaller. And we're kind of unique because yes, we're a small town, but we have a lot of amenities and we're close to a lot of things. We have a pretty decent climate, right? It was double digits yesterday. Was outside with no coat on.
Right? I was that way too. For those who are listening, we're recording this in the middle of January, so that's why we're talking about that. By the time this airs, it's probably gonna be like -40 because we just jinxed it, counselor.
Yes,
So just putting that out there.
so sorry.
So, so you bring up a good point because people do move to smaller communities like Tabor because they want that small town atmosphere. But you are growing, and I know you just said earlier in the interview that you were looking at becoming a city, but the community said no, we're not going to do that. But that doesn't mean that you stop growing as a town. That doesn't mean that you continue just say, oh well, we don't want to be a city, so we no longer allow anyone to come in, no new business to show up. So, how do you see your role as counselor in balancing the growth perspective and what you want to see Tabor turn into with that idea of keeping it a place where people can come and say, you know what, I want that small town atmosphere that Tabor is so well known for?
Well,
And do you think you've stricken the right good balance between the two right now?
I think we have, and I don't know exactly how you maintain that going forward because, yeah, as you grow, um, I
Challenges are
think
always going to show up.
they are. And one of the concerns about becoming a city was that, well, we don't want the problems of a city. And I mean, some of them are unavoidable with growth. We're unique. We have our own police service, which a lot of communities our size don't. A lot of them are policed by the RCMP. So we've had our police service actually a year longer than the town's been incorporated. And I,
What? I did not know
yeah,
that.
I don't know the history exactly. I'm like the police chief would be a better person to ask, but yeah, I'm not sure how that worked. But we've had so it's something that I've always known, but it's so valuable because does it cost a little bit more? Yes, it does, but our community, I feel like we are so safe. Our crime severity index is consistently low, and that's not to say that there's no crime, but it's it's nothing really we don't have those where people aren't don't feel safe to walk down the street or they don't feel like their kids can, ride their bikes to school or walk to the park. And that's it's so important, especially I think that is a big driver of like the small town feel and that community feel.
Before we turn to my favorite subject, I have one question I did not prepare you for, so please bear with me on this one. Now, earlier in the interview, I think literally in the first like 4 or 5 questions, you said that your son really wished there was a Cineplex at the mall so that way he can go see the movies. You just got off a election cycle into October of 2025. You are now with your council in the first 100 days. We are just passing the 100-day mark as of potentially recording this in a few when this releases. What does Tabor have in store for itself in 2026?
We saw a lot of growth in 2025, a lot of retail and some restaurants, and people coming to our community, and a lot of new housing start to go up. And so we're hoping we can continue that momentum in 2026. I know housing is something that all across Canada is a shortage, especially affordable housing. And so we've really been, working hard to try and incentivize it and I think that fingers crossed we are there. We're getting or at least we're getting there. So
Well,
it's
fingers
reassuring.
are crossed for sure. Now, I want to turn to my favorite subject because I think, and this is just my personal opinion, so please bear with me as I say this, I think every municipality has a story to tell in the realm of tourism. I think every municipality has a great tourism marketing strategy. I just think that people in Canada need to hear about it more often. Now, I love traveling. As I said last summer, I was in Tabor. I'm coming back this year. What are things that you recommend to people that they should do while in the town of Tabor? And now you've already mentioned cornstalk, you've already mentioned Tabor Days. What are the hidden gems that people need to see while there?
It's actually Corn Fest, not Tabor Days. Sorry, just to correct you.
Wow, wow, counselor correcting the media. It's like she was a media herself. There you go. Sorry.
Well, I was going to ask you a question, and then I remembered that, oh yes, it's not it's not my interview, it's yours.
Ask
What
away. What is the question that you?
what brought you to Tabor? What
I made a pledge last year that I wanted to visit all 435 municipalities all across Alberta.
ambitious.
It was, and I got to 300 and I think 32 out of 435. So there's still a few that I have to go down. So that's why I know I have to go through Tabor because I would have to go to foremost, and I have to go to not giving a shout out to the village of Foremost right now, but I have to go to Foremost in County of 40 Miles. So those are the reasons why. So, but the other reason was I had never been. I had never been, and I was trying to find this world's largest corn stalk, and I could not find it.
You couldn't find it. It's right on the highway coming through town.
Could not find it.
Oh,
I
well,
literally was trying to drive around. I found the town hall, and that was all I could find. And I was like, okay, I took a photo of the town hall and the MD town hall because they're like together, which is amazing, FYI. That's what I like to see. I like the roadside attractions. So maybe when I'm there this summer, you can show me where the corn stalk is, and if it's right in the middle of where I think it is, I'm gonna kick myself that I didn't see it.
it's right on the highway. So I feel like maybe you drove past it and maybe you just didn't notice it. But yeah, give me a call and I'll tour you around for sure. Um, but we
So
were
what?
talking about
Yeah, what are some of the hidden gems that you would love to like people need to see while in the town of Tabor?
our Taber Trout Pond is one of my favorite places to go. And so it's as it sounds, it's a pond with trout in it. Tabor Fish, or not Tabor, sorry, Alberta Fish and Wildlife stock it with trout every spring. And so you can fish, you can ice fish on it. I don't know how many people actually ice fish, but I see lots of fishermen out in the summertime and in the spring. But we have a great paved trail system that goes around it and then down into the river bottom. And you can kayak, you can paddleboard. One of my favorite things to do is just go and explore some of the trails in the coulees. Like I said, we have mountain bike trails that, I mean, they're not mountains, they're coulees, but we have a great group in our community called Trail 77 that has done a ton of trail. They've built trails, they've maintained them, and they opened up a pump track. So, like a mountain bike pump track that is in the same area as Trout Pond. So, there's lots of things to do outside. I would say in the winter, we have great hockey and curling and stuff inside, but not as much right now. But we do have a wonderful indoor pool with with a water slide.
Hey, I can imagine that's probably getting its fair share of uses right now. So always the silver lining in municipal government. But where do you go? Where do you go after a stressful day of council, of work? Because I can imagine there's days that you just need to decompress and let it all go, knowing that tomorrow morning you're going to have to pick up and do it all over again. And I'm going to say this before you answer. You cannot say your own house. You have to say somewhere in the community because every councilor or mayor I have chatted with wants to say their house. Well, you can't on this show.
They want to say they go and hide. They put their sweatpants on.
Yes, pretty much. Pretty
Yeah.
much. You hit it right on the nose. But anyway, where do you go in the town to decompress if you do?
I really love the Tabor Trout Pond area. I have two dogs, and so that's one of my favorite things to do is to put on a podcast, or sometimes it's I not even that. I dress for the weather and the winter, summer, rain or shine. Not always rain, I guess, but wind more in our community. And we go out for a walk. It's good for everybody, fresh air and some sunshine and a little exercise, and everything feels a little more manageable after that.
So, my final question before I let you go here, and it's the $1 million question, and you kind of encapsulated it already, but I want you to give me the elevator pitch. You got 45 seconds on an elevator with somebody. What makes the town of Tabor such a unique place to live, to work, and to raise a family?
Well, we have the amenities of a big center, but we have the small town feel. Um, our community's safe. We're growing. We're more diverse than we've ever been. And I hesitate to say climate because the the wind is blowing like 70 kilometers an hour today. But I mean, but there's no snow. So I guess that there is that. There's the silver lining. Yeah, I have a hard time sometimes like really putting into words what it is. I'm like, it's more of a feeling. I should be better with words about describing it, but I feel like you know it. You know it when you see it.
Well, I appreciate your candor, your honesty over the last 40 minutes talking about yourself and talking about the town of Tabor. I always get something out of these conversations. I learned so much from the people who are representing us around the council table. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for serving, but also for doing this show and chatting about yourself and the town of Tabor. Thank you so much, Carly. I was going to call you counselor, but I know you don't like that. So Carly.
Counselor is fine, but yes, Carly is great. Thank you. I really appreciate the invitation.
Thanks for tuning in for another edition of Cross Border Interviews. Our goal on this show, as we said at the beginning, is to create meaningful conversations that inform, that connect, and that strengthen municipal knowledge from coast to coast to coast. Now, if you found value in today's discussion, please take a moment to subscribe to the show, leave a review, and share this episode with your community. And if you are a municipally elected official with a story to tell, insights to share, or ideas worth spotlighting, we invite you to be part of the conversation like you saw today. Reach out to us today by visiting crossbordernetwork.ca and learn how you can take part in an upcoming future episode. So until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and we will be back with new episode of Cross Border Interviews shortly.